Happiness While Traveling webinar. It is June 30th, 2026, and I don't know what state of the world you've woken up to, but I think all of us can embrace the concept of happiness through traveling. I'm Bea Baroda. The reason I'm here is, I've known Reza Sultani, who organizes these, for quite some time, and I make a travel TV series, which I've been doing for, I hate to tell you how many decades, but I've traveled the world for many, many years, and I've discovered, like many, that the main reason for going to travel is to find some way to transform yourself inside, to give your heart a good experience, to enjoy meeting people, to learn about a different culture, some way to be happy. And I'm telling you that this panel of experts that we have today are experts truly in that field of sociology, psychology, wellness. They've all got an extensive experience in tourism and touring and everything that you could possibly want to know, so that you can make sure that your dollars are well spent and that your destination is well picked when you go somewhere. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our panelists today. We've got 5 of them. We've got Tara Bush, who's the founder and CEO of Conscious Travel Collective, a Brooklyn-based boutique travel company creating wisdom, land-only itineraries built around genuine local partnerships and insider access. And I think that's the true trend of tourism today. Then we also have Laszlo Puszko, who's been working in the field of travel, hospitality, leisure, and health for more than 25 years. I think I have you beat there. And this one's interesting. He's a hot spring and wellness enthusiast and holds a diploma in forest bathing. So forest bathing, I think I've been reading so much about it and earthing and how good it is for people. And he's also worked at the intersection of tourism, well-being, health-related travel, and personal development for quite a while. And then we've got Susie Ross, who's spent 20 years as a therapist, consultant, professor, and facilitator of learning, personal growth, and healing, and helping others to traverse the challenging and dynamic path of transformation. Again, transformation through travel is what I personally have been trying to focus on with my TV shows in the past. They may look like normal shows, but they're hoping to show you something where you can find that happiness that can create that transformation. But it's not all about me. After Susie, we have Dr. Birgit Trauer, who I have been on webinars before. And Birgit is another phenomenon, like everyone else that's speaking here. She has more than 30 years of extensive experience in leisure travel, tourism, with insights from the diversity of roles in industry, academia, and consultancy. PhD in tourism management, work at international universities and educational experiences and institutions in Canada, England, Austria, Germany, you name it. So I believe that is our list of speakers. But I want to tell you about one more person, because we are going to be delighted today with a meditation. Mamen Martinez is here from Spain, and she has an academic and professional training that combines traditional tourism, marketing, communication, and market research with an integrative path in human development, which we will see with her meditation. But first, there's one thing I just want to say, is that when everyone sets a later, you'll get to hear from each one of these. It's for 5 minutes. I just want to say, I have this. And it's probably a nice way to start this session. This is a crystal bowl for which sound baths can be created. Now, I only have one here, but at the 5-minute mark, I'll go like that. I won't do the whole thing. I'll just do that. And the speakers will know that they have about 30 seconds or so to wrap up. And with that, I'm going to invite Mamen Martinez to start our session with a beautiful meditation, which I'm sure will center us, not just for this webinar, but for the entire day. Mamen, the floor is yours.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much, Bea. And well, we are going to travel. We are speaking traveling, so we are going to invite you to travel. So I would like you to place yourself in a comfortable and relaxed position. Allow your body to find a pleasant posture, a posture where you can rest. Let's go and simply back breathe. Simply breathe. Let your shoulders soften, your back relax, and your jaw become loose. And gently, I invite you to close your eyes. Now, bring your attention to your breathing. Breathe in calm, breathe out any tension. Breathe in peace, breathe out everything you no longer need today. Notice the comfort of your body is the place where you are, the natural rhythm of your breathing, and the sound of my voice of you. Now, I would like to invite you to join me to the island of happiness. Imagine yourself walking out along a beautiful path that feels familiar to you. It's the path that leads to the sea. As you walk along the path, you can feel the air in your feet. You can hear the sound of each step you take. It's still green on the grass around you. You feel the grass brushing against your head, and with your hand, you gently touch it, and you can smell the fragrance coming from the flowers. And you continue walking along the path, and you notice lots of birds driving across the sky. They are birds of different colors, some and others.
Hence the difference between areas and probably due to the displacement.
Sorry? Can you listen to me?
I think somebody's mic was not muted.
We can.
In the meantime, Maman, if you could speak a little louder, some people are saying they can't quite hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
So as you walk down the path, you hear the sound of the sea. And now you can see a calm, deep, blue, open sea. You continue toward the edge of the sea, and you decide to leave your shoes just there. You walk into the clear water. It touches your feet, your legs, your whole body, and every wave seems to wish you are safe. And suddenly, in front of you appears the island of happiness, a place full of light, trees, flowers, and peace. And something inside yourself recognizes this place. As you come into, you discover a beautiful waterfall. Its water is clear, fresh, and full of life. And when you are ready, you step into the water. Feel the water flowing over your head, your shoulders, your whole body. Allow it to wash away every tension, every worry, every fear, everything you no longer need to be with you. The water cleanses you. Your body becomes lighter. Your breathing becomes deeper. Your heart opens. And now you look up and see a white sky above you. And in this moment, you remember that you are a miracle, that you are blessed, that you deserve to feel at ease, that you deserve love and be loved. You deserve to live and to feel alive. You remember that happiness, it is within you, that happiness is found inside you. Feel happiness growing inside you, perhaps as a warm light in your face, perhaps as a gentle smile, perhaps as a deep feeling of calm. Take one more deep breath and allow that feeling to spread through your whole body, from your chest to your feet, until every cell of your body remembers this feeling. and trusting and knowing that your unconscious mind can continue this process for as long as you need, and that the island of happiness will always be with you, ready to welcome you. Take a moment to thank this beautiful day, this wonderful island. So now, begin to return here. Become aware of you. Breathing, gently moving your finger, your shoulder. You can stretch. You can put a smile on your face if you want. Take a deeper breath. Breathe in life. Breathe out gratitude. When you are ready, slow, gently, open your eyes. Breathing and bringing back with you all the peace, the strength, and the happiness you have discovered within yourself. Welcome to the happiness webinar.
Thank you so much, Mama. Gracias. And just lovely. Your voice is very, very soothing, and I would have loved to have had that before I started. So it's lovely to take those few minutes every day and think those wonderful, happy thoughts. So thank you so very much for that. Once again, viewers, we are in the middle of the Happiness While Traveling webinar, and I'd like to thank everybody for being here, whether you found it on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or right on institutetourism.org. We're just glad you're here, and it's a very positive vibration that's going to be permeating this webinar today. We're going to hear now about 5 minutes from each of our panelists. And once again, thank you to Maman. And we're now going to move to Tara Bush, who I introduced earlier. Tara, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Dee. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I've just been kind of scanning through the chat to see that we have people from around the world joining, and I love that about the Institute Tourism events, that really get such a diverse perspective and showing us how connected we all are, which connection is a huge theme for my business and the way that I approach travel. I think that this is catching on, where talking about the themes of grounding and transformation, but I really see connection as something that is that kind of gateway to a more meaningful, more impactful, and hopefully a happier type of journey. So the way that we're looking at connection is really about having a exchange rather than a transaction. And if you think about this, a lot of times when we're traveling, we might hire a guide, we might have a docent showing us something, we might be, at a restaurant. So there is a transaction that's taking place there, but how you approach it, how you go about kind of looking for an opportunity, I think is what that seed of connection can really be planted there. Seeing the person in front of you as having their own story, their own needs, their own background, and looking at what they might want to share and being open to receiving that and going deeper. So I know sometimes when I travel, I'm gone for extensive periods scouting for my business. So I might be away from home for 2 or 3 months at a time. And I do this regularly in the spring and the fall. And I'm definitely caught in that cycle of chasing happiness, looking for things. I want to capture these beautiful moments that I can share with my travelers and say, look how great this destination is. I'm having such a beautiful time. But that's not always the case. Sometimes I feel very disconnected from home, looking at the suitcase. The weather isn't great. I've run into logistical difficulties. I'm frustrated that they don't, take my card at the trading machine, and I'm in a hurry, right? I don't need to say this. If you've just been living in the world, you all know that feeling of frustration when you created this ideal and it's not matching. And I've learned that when I'm getting those signals of fear, frustration, disappointment, loneliness, grief sometimes, right? When I'm feeling those things in my body, the best thing to do is go, okay, I see you, and remind myself that I'm safe, I'm not in any danger. I've been here before. I know how to get through this. And I mean, I might even say out loud repeatedly, I'm safe. I can handle this. I'm sure that Maman can point us to like a beautiful meditation that would speak to this for you rather than having to do it for yourself. But I think that little bit of reminder, that little bit of pause, moment with yourself, and then I'll say, okay, I've addressed that. Now let's go look for something that can tap into curiosity. I personally have found that once I go from inside to outside, that's where I can tap into that awe and wonder and excitement and vitality and zest and all those things we're kind of hoping for when we're traveling. If I look outside of myself, when I'm feeling maybe low, that's where I can find it. Sparking up a conversation with someone, even if it's just going to a museum or watching crowds in the plaza, watching people, in their daily life. Those kinds of things can really help me feel like driving my attention outward and appreciating the kind of moment that I'm in. These are very small kind of tools that are meant to be accessible. It's really about having the toolkit within yourself, in my opinion, so that it will travel with you anywhere, any time of day, any time of year, any destination, wherever you are. There's these small things that you can do. Another tool that I like to have in my toolkit is having something scheduled with someone back home. So, for example, I usually, when I have a trip planned, maybe a week or 10 days in, I know the fatigue is probably starting to hit at that point. I usually have a scheduled call with my sister, who's like my best friend, the light of my life. She brings me so much happiness and positivity. She's a huge cheerleader. So a very strategic call with someone that I know is going to bring back some of that vitality. And I'll try not to reschedule, but even if I have to be on a train or walking around, I have my headphones on, we're on the phone, we'll chat on WhatsApp for half an hour, 45 minutes, and I just feel instantly better. And I feel connected to home. It's that sense of kind of rooting in and feeling grounded, feeling, a reminder of why you're there, having that kind of reintroduction to the intention of why you're traveling. Again, these are all meant to be very small, easy to access types of tools that you can have within yourself and within your community. But maintaining that kind of connection and scheduling it ahead of time, I think, is really important. Knowing yourself and where you're going to be kind of, thank you, DIC, yeah. And the last thing I would just say is, travel is an invitation. It's not a guarantee. We don't know how things are going to unfold. So it really is a matter of accepting that. Let your expectations be that we'll see what develops, having that sense of wonder, instead of thinking of it as a promise that you're going to have the best time and everything's going to be perfect and smooth, but just seeing it as an opportunity and letting what unfolds. Be open. I think that helps a lot. I'm very excited to hear what everyone else has to say and get into some of your questions. But again, thank you all, this beautiful community, for being here and for having me.
Thank you, Tara. It's just a pleasure to have you, too. And we are having a roundtable discussion after everybody speaks. So our next speaker is Laszlo Puchko, another specialist in wellness, likes to contribute to healthier, more conscious, and more transformative journeys. So let's welcome Laszlo Puchko.
Yes, thank you so much, and it's good to see all those many great friends we already know from the participants list. So just flick through. Yes, bom dia, Alexander. I can see you over here. It's good to have this panel because we can represent very different views and very different angles. And for once, I don't have a presentation, but I want to share a couple of pointers which I think can be useful for the discussion. There's two groups of points I want to list. You want to feel happy during travel, probably you're better off if you were actually living a happier life, not chasing happiness when you're not happy in your everydays, because that's not going to work. So already that's a good start, that you should have a happy life, full stop, and then travel also will just, or suit most of the time. Or go to places and do things that make you happy. And this is the moment when I believe, working in the field for so that many years, many people don't actually know what activities, what places would make them happy. They don't know. They're not open to find out about new things because they worried or they feel that they wouldn't be good, and they miss out, and they just don't know what things would actually make them even happier. So that's another little snippet here. And also, we can visit places where the local people are happy. There are all that many happiness systems in the world, more than 80 different systems we can identify, not wellness products, not, big things, just very, very basic things. How people have been living their lives in the last not more than 2,000 years to make themselves happy. Very simple things and how we can take part of those. So that's also another learning curve to say that, oh, well, I don't need to have all that much money or that 7-star hotel to make myself happy. Just a couple of pointers. I don't know how many of you understand the concept of imaginative hedonism, which refers to the concept that you are happier during the lead time to the trip than after arrival. So that's a psychological phenomenon that you should all look into it, and it has concepts such as arrival fallacy, that you assume something that it's not going to be there. So destinations, expectation management, over-promising, you build in disappointment and unhappiness right away. They also understand concepts such as, for example, reward circuits, that when you go to a new place, then it's a reward and it makes you happy because it releases the hormones. But sometimes going back to the good old place where you always go back to can release exactly the same amount of happiness. So it depends. We need to be conscious and self-aware of ourselves. I really like the concept of positional good phenomenon. I don't know how many of you are aware of that, which is that I can, you can't, so I'm happy. So I go to places, sharing every single platform that's humanly possible, and I'm happy to see how many people like it, and I know that they actually can't do what I do, so I'm happy. It's your decision and your call what you think about that, but that exists. People travel to places, it's called positional good, because that actual trip itself, not what they do and what that place is, but what comes with that trip psychologically, that makes them happy since they know others can't do it. It's a very unusual, let's say, drive, if you will. We are on a hedonic treadmill, looking for hedonistic experiences all the time, and happiness is one certain kind of hedonism, depending on how you look at psychology and eudaimonic or hedonistic well-being you look at, but happiness is something that every person would translate to themselves. And we're on a treadmill that we want to be hedonistic. And we also know that AI, small family units, actually leading to more leisure time, apparently, that makes us, leads us to have, be living an isolated and aimless life. Psychologists are really worried that all this fantastic technological development and changing the society patterns actually not going to give us happiness, but increases isolation and aimlessness. And those are fundamentals of being unhappy. Finally, one of the latest development is that weight loss drugs take away happiness altogether. You lose weight, but you become so obsessed and so focused, and the hormone balance is changing so rapidly that you can't enjoy not just food, but literally anything. So that's another little aspect that, yes, you might have a smaller size when you buy something, but you may not actually enjoy it that much. And the last point, interestingly, and look into it, smarter people tend to be less happy. Psychologists are making those studies that because of the pressures and peer pressures and expectations, all of that, they're worried too much about their performance, success rate, acceptance, and they are less happy. So, Tara, it's a very different angle to what you talked about in terms of being happy on travel, during travel, but since participants are all professionals, as far as I can see, they can really look into all those concepts and phenomena to see what we can do about all that. So just up for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we might all relate to an experience that our next panelist, Susie Ross, has had. And she was backpacking in the mountains of Colorado, hiking a plateau at 12,000 feet, and she suddenly expected an interconnectedness with all that is. And I have got that too, and I'm looking forward to hearing what Susie has to say about that. She's created a map to wellness that I think she'll be talking about as well. So Susie Ross, welcome.
Okay, good day, everyone. That was a beautiful intro, and I'm really enjoying the speakers. So happy to be here with everyone. I'm beaming in from Virginia, from the Blue Ridge Mountains right now. So right now I'm almost on the top of a rounded mountain, and I have like almost a 360-degree view in the little house where I am right now. And so that's where I am right now, joining you on a little bit of work vacation, holiday work. And so, yeah, today I think this notion of happiness is just really, really elusive, right? Because exactly what the different speakers are saying. And so one thing that we want to consider about happiness that has been talked about a little bit here is what we all probably intuitively know is that happiness is kind of quirky. And when I say quirky, I'm saying it's so individual. And it's also really, it's so personal. And these little minor details that are just right for you cause this emergence of happiness, a moment of happiness. And each one of us are just so darn quirky. We just think about all the different types of food you like to eat and how you like to eat it in a certain way, in a certain setting, or a certain type of sauce, or a certain way of it being cooked. Or there's a million different ways that we enjoy our food. And so that quirkiness about the way you like your food, we think about that when we go about, how can we bring about moments of happiness in our travel? And so what I would propose to everyone is that happiness anywhere, but including travel, begins with that quirkiness, self-awareness. What about you brings you moments of joy? And what specific aspects of an experience cause that sort of delightfulness in you? And so I would encourage you to begin a continuous journey, I'm sure you're probably already on it, of self-awareness. And one thing that I do is I take different personality tests, for example, and that personality test might help me to have greater self-awareness about my own quirkiness. So there are lots of different personality tests out there. One's called the Big Five. Another one's called Enneagram. There's all sorts of different ones out there you can just go on the internet and find. But that might help you to be able to understand a little bit more about what's happening for you. So with that self-knowledge, and you don't need a test, you could just go inside and pay attention to your feelings. What's happening to me right now? What brings me delight? What's my quirkiness that makes me crack a smile? Okay. And so I want to show you a little bit of a diagram here because I can, which is pretty cool. And this diagram here is what I call the 4 pathways to travel happiness. And so we have 2 different quadrants here. We've got ease and stretch, and then belonging and discovery. Okay. And so in this direction, we're looking at what kind of experience are you needing right now? Are you really depleted? if you're really depleted, you might need ease rather than being stretched. But don't let that fool you, because also sometimes when we're depleted, a little bit of stretch actually gives us energy. So for example, I recently was doing some consulting in Costa Rica at a wellness retreat called Surf Synergy. And I was really depleted. I was exhausted. I was tired. I really needed a week with like lots of massage and, almost no interaction. And instead I found myself at like a boot camp almost, of calisthenics, intense yoga, and learning how to surf, which was physically grueling. And I was surprised at how it gave me energy. And oddly gave me moments of happiness because my body was stretched in ways that I was not ready for or used to. And so sometimes we can stretch ourselves with our mind, with our body. It just depends. And so the other realm here is belonging and discovery. And so, as has been noted, one of the pieces of literature that we've known, or the strains of literature that we've known for the last couple of decades, is the power of human connection or life connection. And that alone is probably one of the most life-giving experiences that we can have. So, for example, last night I took a walk along in this mountain top experience that I've been having the last couple of days. And there were these horses. And I was like, I want to come up to the horses and see if I can actually touch them. And I came up to the fence, and sure enough, they came to me, and their soft noses on my hand, and one even licked me. I was a little bit afraid that I might get bit, but I was careful. But that touch of that soft horse nose, it was so beautiful. And so how we can put ourselves in situations to have connection. And then the other piece is novelty. And novelty, okay, gotcha. It's time for us to, thank you, because I can't hear it. And so novelty is the other realm. So I don't touch a horse every day. So getting myself in a situation where I can experience novelty is extremely good for our body, mind, spirit. So I would offer those 4 quadrants to you as a possibility, or experiencing and touching into moments that arise joy and happiness.
That's fantastic. I love that. I hated to gong you at that moment because it's just, that is what travel is all about. And my aha moment came when I was in Mauritius and told to go across a suspension bridge that was this narrow and so high up you could barely see what was around. And all I could do was think of how jelly my spine was. But I did it, and about a third of the way across, as I was like going like this, I thought, why was this built here? And I looked up and I looked around, and it was so magnificent that somebody actually built that. And I did it, and I was able to actually walk and enjoy the rest of that frightening suspension bridge. And it occurred to me that that's somehow what we need to do to get past life, to get through things, to move ourselves out of our comfort zone. Like you, not sure the horse is going to bite your hand off, but you needed to feel that velvet nose. So it's just, travel can be amazing in so many small ways and large ways. So thank you. We have another speaker, which I have been on some panels with in the past on so many topics. She's an expertise in many. And that, of course, is Dr. Birgit Trower. And what can I say? She operates independently as a coach, educator, and consultant, facilitating personal and professional growth, and so much more. So the stage is now with Birgit Trower.
Thank you, Bea, and again, nice to be here and see you and everybody else here on the panel. Now, it's really interesting, again, as Lata also said, we all come from different angles looking at this topic of happiness. How to feel happy while traveling? Such a broad and inviting question. Now, I decided to approach this topic again also with our slides, but talking about travel and the pursuit of happiness, and through a relational lens, which is very important to me. It's tempting to think of happiness as a destination, to find a place where we can simply arrive and experience whatever happiness means to us at any given time in our lives. But as philosophers have reminded us, actually for centuries, happiness is not out there. It's not a place we arrive at. It's a daily practice that resides within us. Now, when we talk about happiness while traveling, I believe it's important to look at the full arc of travel, which also Lalo just alluded to specifically, the anticipation phase, which is often forgotten, yet it gives us meaning long before we actually reach our destination. This was actually a comment made by Dr. Hamza noted recently in an exchange on LinkedIn that we had. Very important point, again, anticipation phase, not to underestimate. The experience phase is always talked about, the spark and the wonder of place and people, and it's actually captured in a book by Terry Stevens with Alan Sandy. Then, of course, crucially, is the moment we return home. The shock to our system, or sudden where's the happiness gone? We immerse ourselves in life's reality. So without integrating all these experiences, the happiness we have experienced often ends up as a fold of photographs, does it not? Before long, we yearn to escape again. But, as I keep saying, happiness is not found in running away. Now, this takes me actually to what you, again, sort of alluded to, the new kind of work that I've ventured into, and also my book, The Way of the Peaceful Traveller, Dare to Care and Connect, which you are also familiar with. I believe that the joy of travel isn't just about the art of travel, but it is the art of living together. Happiness, harmony and peace resides in the space between people, and we cannot forget that. And it has been acknowledged in our day and age that we are experiencing a loneliness epidemic with a growing me mindset, which actually Brené Brown describes as our psychological armor. And sometimes we should look at ourselves and what do we look like? Travel offers a unique chance to drop these defenses and to reignite actually a we mindset, which is lacking in our society. This is actually what Terry Real, a famous psychotherapist, refers to as relational mindfulness. Perhaps we should look at that direction. Travel for me is a time to touch base with who we truly are. And it is a time for connecting with people, with place, and most importantly, intimately with ourselves. A time that I actually refer to as self-realization or self-awareness, as Susie just said. That we all have to remember that we are co-creators of our life experiences and of our happiness. So the question is, are we fit enough to navigate the related challenges on our journey through life? With that in mind, I actually designed a workshop and retreat program I call Relational Core Fitness, and you can find the details under birgittrail.com. I'm still working on the website, but the majority of the information is all there, and you can get some detailed insights as to what it's all about. Because I believe as we train our bodies for physical demands, we must train our relational core to build capacity for deep connection and happiness. And this fitness is grounded in 3 research and practice-based areas: relational intelligence, understanding the complex ecosystems of our connections, and the roles that we all play in our relationships. We often forget that. We always point the finger the other direction. Let's start looking at ourselves. Emotional empowerment, embracing our innate curiosity and courage to recognize stress triggers. And, of course, we're talking about that in travel. Happiness, the glimmers of joy in our lives, not just when we travel. Conscious communication is another big one. Listening and speaking with empathy to honor the human being in us, but also in front of us. This journey starts, of course, with a relationship we have with ourselves, building our capacity to contribute to the art of living together, where happiness really, truly resides. So what is the role of travel here? Travel, to me, is a perfect time to build this relational fitness, whether on a solo journey, a couple's escape, or actually a group expedition. Male bonding comes to mind, is something that is not often talked about. Time away from routine is a unique relational gene. And an important point I like to actually make here is that fitness isn't just for the road. It's for our private lives and our professional spheres at home. I always point out we cannot separate the happiness we feel while traveling from the life we lead every day. So with that in mind, I'd like to actually extend an invitation to everyone to start your Relational Core Fitness program. And it is an appreciation that really our sense of happiness contributes to the quality of our lives. And perhaps you're familiar with her, as the famous quote by Esther Perel points out, the quality of our lives is determined by the quality of our relationships. So please get in touch and let's explore how we can co-create retreats that integrate all that as a way of building our human skills and relational capacity. That's my contribution, my thoughts on this topic. More to come in discussions, hopefully. Thank you.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much, Dr. Trower. But you know what? After all this, I feel I should travel with my teddy bear.
I like it.
I used to bring a little, what they call a little mini traveling Buddha. So you could put it beside on your nightstand and have him maybe light a candle or whatever. And when you take it on every trip, it's sort of like a centering. It's sort of like something from home. But I'm sure we all have different ways. But you mentioned your new website, and I'd just like to say to everyone about all our speakers, if you go to institutetravel.org, you will find the contact details for all of our panelists and go right deeply into all of the things that they've done and find more from their websites. But now for the next 15 minutes, this wonderful group with all of their different ways of looking at travel and happiness are going to have a round table. And I'm not quite sure how you're going to start it or who's going to start it, but this is the next 15 minutes is a time for discussion on all of the things that we've just spoken. And actually, Dr. Trower, since you just last spoke, perhaps you could start a thread.
Oh, thank you for that invite. Where do I start? So many topics and so many issues being raised here. I think what really emanates from all of the comments made is that really travel is experiential learning, isn't it? And we travel in body, mind and soul. And all that yearns for nourishment. So any kind of experience at any given time, depending on what the needs are at that given time. And I think Lhasa really sort of referred to that also. And again, also Susie, everyone really, is that we have to be aware that, happiness is a subjective matter. And we can yearn for something for happiness one moment and another one and another moment, depending on what happens in our lives. So happiness is an interesting topic to talk about. Anybody else wants to contribute? Please.
But before anyone does, oh, sorry.
If you're waiting, then you shouldn't raise your hand. If you were invited, I think may I mention that it could be culturally defined,
Yes.
all the many factors and traits. I'm sitting in Budapest, which is not exactly the happiest country in the world or society, and has never been. That's a cultural issue. When you go to southern countries, go to Central America, then you feel and sense and see that it's just, the ease of life and enjoying every moment of it. So we need to learn. That's why I was going back to the topic, that we need to learn and we need to educate people that you can enjoy things. Things can make you happy, regardless of how, difficult, expensive, big, whatever that is. It's an education process as well, since many of us, if you don't mind using us as a terminology, many people don't quite even know how to do it, how to take part, or how to take the best out of it, because they never done it before. They don't quite know the tricks and the easiness of it, so they expect something else. So one of the studies suggests that you need to take a short trip every 6 to 8 weeks, just 2 or 3 days to go away, and then you have the instant boost. Subconsciously, but you still have the instant boost, however short-lived that is. Don't forget, most people don't live so consciously as this panel described it today. they way less conscious as in human beings. Nothing wrong about it. They just, this is how they live. So the different levels of engagement of this, let's say, hunt for joy. That's, I think, it's a very interesting topic here. And so just took your moment. Thank you.
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to hook on to that quickly, if I may, just very briefly. Really, it relates to mindfulness, and mindfulness being used a lot. And a lot of it is actually associated with the Eastern philosophy of mindfulness, based on Buddhism philosophy. And a lot of destinations are being marketed and sought for that kind of mindfulness. But we shouldn't forget the Western kind of mindfulness by Professor Alanger from Harvard University, which is what you're describing, being aware of how to be conscious in the moment, present, looking for novelty, and experiencing the emotions that come out of that. So again, I think that's just something I'd like to contribute to that. The notion of mindfulness is a big topic that quite happily goes into the topic of happiness. Thank you.
I just wanted to jut in at this time is that after this little round table, we're going to have the panelists answer questions that are coming up in the chat. And so those of you out there watching and listening, if you'd like to put your questions in the chat, we can pose them after this round table. And I see, Mamen, you've got a comment.
Yeah. I would like also to add that at the end, of course, it's cultural, the happiness, how I feel and what means the happiness for me. And maybe for you it's not the same. But I think also it's an attitude. It's an attitude of life. It's not concerning only cultural, but also how you see the things, how you feel the things, how you touch it. For instance, if I see a little children that is smiling for me, that gives me a little portion of happiness. But maybe another person, they don't matter about that. So I mean, it's the attitude, and in the little things during your day, you are taking nice things that make you happy. But it's also you have to train that, I think. And also, it's not the same, the happiness when you are traveling alone, and when you are in a couple, and when you are traveling with the family, and when you are traveling with the children, the grandmother, the grandfather. I mean, that's also very, very important, because at the end you have to share the happiness with the other, and it's not the same. So at the end, that's why I think that the most important is the attitude, but because it's depending of a lot of different things. Yeah.
It makes me wonder how many people travel and become a different person. Like take the opportunity that the people around the world that you're seeing have no idea who you are or what you do, and how fun that can be to play with. Does anyone have any thoughts on that?
Yes, actually, sorry, Mike. It is actually known to come under touristhood by Jafar Jafari. And when looking way back, we actually can, relinquish our roles that we play at home, whether it's an executive or parent and partner and so forth, particularly if we go, say, on a trip with just girlfriends, say, as a female travel, or a gentleman going together for male bonding or whatever you want to call it. All of a sudden they experience and explore different kinds of identity of themselves, because we're not just one person, are we, in real life? And travel, in a way, because of the liberty of not being known, gives us that wonderful opportunity to see, the other people live differently. I wonder, how do I feel if I do that? It gives us a chance, again, to experience, to test it out. And then say, that was really nice, I take that with me. But the question is, are they taking it with them? Are they reflecting on it? The integration is a big question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll jump in because you mentioned integration again, and I'm so pleased to hear so many people saying that word integration, and because I've been studying integration scientifically for about 20 plus years, and my doctoral research was all examining the phenomena of integration after life-changing experience, actually life-changing travel. And an important part of understanding integration is that when we're integrating, it's not so pretty. when we're integrating, it can be quite sad, actually, a lot of grief, and also time of solitude and even loneliness that has been mentioned. And so when we consider happiness, and specifically for travel and its usefulness for us to shift our feelings, that sometimes what we might do is seek experiences that allow us to grieve, or that allow us to feel held, or that allow us to have solitude and quietness. And those experiences might not necessarily, cause like happiness, but they allow some sort of relief and release and savoring or healing that can bring about some moments of peace.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so, so valuable. So just thinking about integration, that it's okay to seek out experiences. In fact, it's really generative, can help us to transform by leaning into the unhappiness.
Perfect, actually. Thank you for that point. I was trying to get there because we tend to look at the positive side of emotions, if I want to call it positive. We forget that we have a whole set of emotions and feelings. And that includes the ones that normally are called negative emotions. It's not negative, they're all emotions. They all have data for us to reflect on what does it tell us about me, where I'm at. And unless we are open to also, and these are the triggers in life quite often, what triggers us, particularly something upsets us. And then we look at the glimmers, what gives us joy. So we have to learn to embrace all the emotions. And that is something that I'm actually very much integrating in what I try to share with people and educate about, is to be accepting of grief. My surname, incidentally, is Trauer. If anybody speaks German, Laszlo, you're smiling, I can see it. Yes, it means grief. And I was told when I got married a long time ago, I'm divorced in the meantime, not to take that name. Because I'm not a tall person, I'm a happy person. So grief is a big one, and I think we should not forget that when we talk about happiness. Otherwise we sort of end up in, sort of chasing positiveness all the time, and not really accepting life with all its ups and downs. Buddhists say it's without suffering we cannot really experience happiness. So thank you, integration.
I just think sometimes grief hits you when you least expect it, even on some of these travels, where something has just moved you to suddenly flood over with a grief of something perhaps you have been keeping in. So definitely I've had that experience with travel. And it is just as important to process, that's for sure. I have a little question here on chat. Many people search for happiness through traveling. Do you think happiness should come first from within, with travel simply enhancing it rather than creating it? I think, Dr. Trauer, you sort of answered that.
Well, I believe it's both, and I think again Lars also said that it depends, because depending on the stage of life we are in, life is not always flat, it's not flatlined, it's an up and down, and that's the reality of life. Which means sometimes we're not happy, and then going on a travel journey, particularly I'm at the moment in Austria, in Innsbruck, where my son now lives. I have not seen him for 3 years, and I missed him terribly, and I was grieving that loss. I'm happy now because I'm here, sharing that connection with him. So, I was not in a happy place to say, because I missed him. Here I am now, I'm happy. I'm going to do other travel experiences, but for different reasons. So I believe it's both.
You muted me, but I think just going to pick on that. I think we probably put too much stress and expectations on travel, what travel has to do, and we expect it, and then eventually we become disappointed. It may or may not do it, and often we misunderstand what it does, because the cultural experience or learning or taking part or reconnecting with self or nature, with family, whatever it is, all those many things can happen during a trip. Happiness potentially or not. Because it could be a social connection, it could be joy, it could be all sort of things. And then the whole philosophy of what's happiness, what's joy, what's quality of life, what's well-being, we shouldn't get there. An average traveler is not going to, negotiate with all these terminologies. So I think we need to, the destinations, for example, need to be aware what those guests are actually seeking. And should they provide that, then they will have some sort of satisfaction, which is not 100%, happiness per se, but it's leading to it. So we just, destinations as well as travelers, as well as tour managers and everybody else just need to understand how we work as human beings at a given moment of time and enable us to get, we call it as awareness OS, as awareness operating system, which is, happiness is part of it. So enabling people that, guys, I give you these plates and options, enabling you at equity, not equality, but equity, and then it's up to you to take it. If you didn't, that may not be my fault.
That's right. And again, I have to really get into that. I love this exchange because, again, we're looking at the supply side of the facilitation of potential experience happiness. It is not, because it's co-creation. We cannot forget that. So the destination and guides is what can facilitate potential for happiness, but it's also up to the individual who comes as a traveller to be part of that. And a lot of happiness actually happens not through planning, but through unexpected experiences. Adventure is the best one. The unknown, the unexpected experiences. Quite often afterwards, after going through struggles and challenges, do we feel really elated and happiness in retrospect. So I agree with you that it's not as straightforward as someone searching possibly only for happiness. A lot of people don't really know that they're looking for happiness. They're looking for something, and they can't put the finger on it. Is something wrong with it? I don't think so. We all, anyway.
One of the comments in the chat is, I believe the person needs to be open to transformation. It cannot be just a product. The person has to be wanting that transformation and change. And, well, a lot of people do travel hoping that that comes. Now we're going to be in our question and answer, so anybody can grab these questions as I read them out here from the chat. Do you think that while in the moment, friction when we travel can be disruptive to what we know and challenge what and how we see things, actually propels us into a more evolved state about how we fit into this world, making us more thoughtful travelers and contributing to our happiness? Anyone?
I suppose this person who asked this question haven't been to Benidorm in the last couple of years and asking these questions to the... Sorry, Mom, about this. But you know what I mean. And who am I to say that those who go to Benidorm, they're not happy? Probably they're happier than those who go to seek for the next level of consciousness and soul searching and all the rest of it. Because they're not expecting that much from a holiday. They just enjoy the simple things in life. So again, who are we to say that it is not good enough happiness? There should be a different kind of happiness. I'm not discussing the environment or whatever the implications of such traits, but just talking about the psychological aspects of it. So we may not have this question what we just read. For those who are taking part in all the many different kinds of travels, because they don't care about that. That's not their objective. And they are happily enjoying their trip and they would like to go back over and over again because it's a happy place to me.
Yeah. Actually, I love to, again, the point that you made there, I've studied a lot of issues about what do psychotherapists do, and the notion of happiness in relationships, intimate relationships particularly, but also family relationships. Now, we're obviously observing a lot of relationship breakups, divorces, and estrangement of families. The discussion that always goes, we all go through that, relationships in any kind, whether it's at home or during travel. Then we are finding frictionless point. And these are the ones that are called triggers rather than glimmers. The triggers are very important for us to pay attention. What are the triggers? But expecting something from outside to actually deal with it is up to us to tap into our own capacity to actually be the agent, the proactive nurturer of, possibly we call it in psychotherapy, repair. It's harmony, rupture, and repair. A lot of people get stuck in rupture, and that's it. And they all look for happiness, and it's love bombing, like marketing and tourism, if I may just use the word there. And then people get stuck in rupture, and they don't know how to repair. And that is what we're talking about when we're talking about the grief side of happiness, the other side of the coin. How do we deal with that, particularly in relationships? And what is our role in that? Okay, I be the leader, and it's proven. When you do repair, the initiator, it's not two starting off together, it's one who starts it. And by changing yourself in your kind of behavior and attitude, will eventually attract the other one to, link in with that and change their behavior. So I learn a lot from when I look at side of tourism, very much into the notion of therapy. And what does it tell us? Is travel therapy? Are we all now travel therapists? Are we on the bandwagon of therapy culture? Good one.
Actually, we started our session today with the meditation from Mamen Martinez, and she has actually a PowerPoint presentation for us that it might be nice for us to listen to it at this almost end of the webinar. Mamen, are you ready with your PowerPoint?
Okay, well, it's really about, I'm going to share, yes.
Great.
I don't know if you can see that.
Okay?
Yes, we can.
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, so, so it was about when you are traveling, is the profile of the traveler? What do you feel before traveling? That's because if we want to get to the happiness, what is the pre-travel? It's happy for us also, preparing all the things that we have to prepare, and it's depending also how do you do. But that's very important. It's a time there are a lot of things to take into consideration. The day of the dispatch, again, is a very big stress day normally. If you are awareness, well, at the end you know that tomorrow I'm going to leave, I'm going to begin my travel, and it will be a special day. Well, I know myself, it's easier for yourself to spend a day like a normal day. But if you are not prepared for that, it's a very, very stressful day because you are leaving and you have to take a lot of things and you have to leave a lot of things at home. So, what can do the destination? I have a family coming to my destination. The children more or less are good, but the parents, I suppose, are very stressed. What can I do? And one thing that I spoke with Westside was that I was collaborating with a municipality, thinking about what can the municipality, the destination, what they can do with not a wellness, but to integrate in different parts of the municipality happiness moment, happiness spots. So, in Archena, that is close to, in the south of Spain, close to Murcia, we have analyzed all the resources we have, and we have created different things that could help tourists and also citizens from the municipality to stop a little and enjoy. And at the end, when you stop, you become awareness. And that's the most, for me, the biggest, the first action. Stop. You stop, and then you can see. You are running. Not the same to be on the motorway, I don't know, with a speed of 120, than to be with 9 at 9. The speed is not the same, you speed differently. And that's the same. So, with the resources we have created, well, different spaces. It's people from the municipality, it's very local, and we have created, well, different spaces where we are going to do yoga, but everybody can go there. Maybe there are people that don't like yoga, but at the end, if you see people doing yoga, your mind begins to become, and that's also important. We can do well, all the poetry trade. For instance, there are very known poets in Athena, and you have Totem with different poems from himself. Well, we have created a QR with a reflection and meditation. At the end, you listen, you read the poem, but you can also have a reflection, a guided reflection, because not everybody can sit down and say, well, I'm going to do a meditation. So it's to make it easy. And we have a split all around the municipality, things like this. Also visualization on the mountain viewpoint. So you are on the municipality and you can choose. You have water, you have a thermal water center. There are a lot of wellness things, but the idea is to spread the idea of wellness all around the municipality. And that I think is very interesting because you can rest. You need 1 week to relax, but you are going to have to be there 3 days. So you are walking and you are seeing things that can help you to start, to relax, and maybe to be a little happy. So that's all.
And let's stay calm while we're traveling. You know, I'm always in that flutter too. I love the pictures at the beginning. I'm just overwhelmed at the beginning. And by the time I get to my destination, I wonder, why was I like that? Because, the pre-trip panic, it's a real thing. I wonder, we haven't heard anything from Tara. I was wondering if you had something to add to this conversation that we've just had, perhaps inspired by Mamet.
Yeah, thank you. It's funny, we're talking about travel and the opportunities that it creates and this expectation of happiness or how to balance happiness and friction. And I think for your average travel consumer, obviously we're all talking about these ideas and themes that require a lot of self-awareness, a lot of presence, being engaged, being able to consider the whole span of integrating from the pre-travel to the experiences and posts. But for your average travel consumer, the gift of travel is presence. It's being present. It's having less time on your screens, not having to, have your day-to-day tasks, but being present in the environment that you're in. And I think that most people don't have rituals or systems in their day-to-day life that help them to be incorporated with this feeling of being present with identifying feelings and emotions and processing or integrating them. And so that's why travel can feel so special. You have a moment of calm and you sit and you take it in. You have a moment of appreciating a view and you sit with it instead of brushing through it. So as a tourism community, I do think it's really essential that we all have some kind of small appreciation for psychology because, when it comes down to it, tourism is really about people, it's about culture, and whether we like it or not, we need to understand human psychology as ambassadors of a destination, as people that are, linking people with these new places that they're unfamiliar with. And we can often see travel as just this luxury and something that is inherently good, but understanding that it can be very unsettling, that it can come with a lot of feelings that it's spurred and a lot of disruption. And for those that aren't familiar with knowing how to process the grief or loneliness or confusion or the frustrations that will surely arise when they're traveling, if they don't already have this practice of knowing how to integrate those things or how to even accept those things, that it's important as ambassadors of a destination or ambassadors of tourism that we know how to meet guests with care. We know how to meet them with patience. We know how to help show them gentle ways to integrate themselves in the place they're visiting. And just as an example, if you're training, hospitality staff, like trade them to slow down, to sit down and maybe offer a coffee. Instead of being at the front desk, let's sit, let's have a coffee, have a water. I know you're tired. That is such a powerful moment. Someone walks to your front desk to check in. They've been traveling for a day and a half. They're tired. And they're staying at that counter versus saying, hey, let's sit. Don't worry, your bags are safe there. Let me get you a coffee. Let me get you a water. Let's sit down and we'll do the check-in here. That is a huge mental load shift for that person. And so being in this community, it's important that we understand that we all have to have a little bit of a psychologist in us. We all have to have a little bit of this awareness. In attending these types of events, it's important to be reminded of that. And then also knowing your place as an ambassador of what the experience will be, that kind of responsible marketing of not trying to create it as a perfect picture, that's not the goal. The goal is to have a real experience and to be present in the way that, I think a lot of us have pointed out that it's different for everyone. It's not a one-size-fits-all, but understanding that we're part of a larger community and that the interactions that we all have and play with people is going to help them achieve that feeling of getting some kind of meaning, by the time that they leave and return home. And that's really what I personally believe is the root of happiness, is finding meaning. And so that would be my take, yeah.
I love that. Here's a
Really well question. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, if you wanted to address that before we get to the next question in the chat, feel free.
Well, I was linking up to a question I saw in the chat, actually, and what Tara said all made beautiful sense, because in the end, happiness is, what do we want, or what do we heard, seen, valued, and appreciated, whether that is in travel or in our private lives. So if we are made welcome at a destination by a hospitality facility or tour guides and so forth, that moment makes us a moment of joy and happiness. I was linking that to, I don't know if you might have seen it too, there is Deborah Campanaro, she's quite a regular one too here. She asked, do you think that while in the moment, friction when we travel can be disruptive to what we know and challenge what and how we see things, actually propels us into a more evolved state about how we fit into this world and making us more thoughtful travellers and contributing to our happiness? I certainly would suggest yes, and perhaps someone else likes to comment on that too. I thought I'd just read out that particular question. Someone else wants to respond to that? Nada? You're smiling?
Can you repeat? Yeah.
Yes.
Can you repeat that?
Again?
All right. She came in at 1551. Do you think that while in the moment, which we're talking about presence, friction when we travel can be disruptive to what we know and challenge what and how we see things, including ourselves, which I work with, actually propels us into a more evolved state about how we fit into this world. Taking that lesson, I think that's what you allude to, and learning from that back at home, into our home environment, making us more thoughtful travellers and contributing to our happiness. Susie, perhaps you like to respond?
Yes, I would love to. Thanks. So my doctoral degree is in transformative learning. And if you're interested in transformation and travel, the travel industries are really starting to, the ones that are looking into transformation and how do we create life-changing experiences. If we look through that lens, the single most important thing that we can do, both as travelers and as destination providers or DMOs, is to create experiences that provoke a new way of thinking, a new idea of like how the world works, a new experience that's so novel, it's so new that it introduces us to, like, it blows our mind as far as helping us to see a world that we didn't see before or experience something we've never experienced before. That is called a perspective transformation, and that is what we can then carry home, and that reconfigures our entire identity. Because when we encounter a experience that we've never had before, a way of thinking, a different way of experiencing the world, we then have to reconfigure who we are, because now we have this new reality that we didn't even know existed. And so that can be very simple. It can be, I've never experienced food like this before, and it's so novel, it's so different that we have to now incorporate that into our experience of reality. And then, there's extremes like, oh my gosh, I've never actually seen a camel before, let alone sat on top of one. I've never been in a mosque before. These things cause our mind to get blown. And that's like a lay way to kind of say it. So I'm talking a lot.
Especially when it blows up some of your preconceived ideas, right? When you do those things and you think, wow, why did I do that sooner?
As a different angle to all of this is there's all sort of discussions taking place about a phenomenon which is called dopamine fasting. If that's something that we can do or we cannot do, if so, what's happening and why we do so. That's a very interesting topic altogether, and travel itself supposedly contributing to dopamine one way or another, way the lead time as well as arrival, as well as being sentimental post-travel. It's all about releasing dopamine, and that's why we miss now the extra boost of dopamine when we have our photographs printed. Because you don't have that moment anymore when you go to this shop and then you collect your photographs of the trip and then you're horrified how awful you looked in a certain image, how wonderful it was in another one. So you're reliving the whole trip through those images. Now we are just having thousands of images done with phones and we never ever look at them. So the dopamine fasting and if so travel contributing to it, or how that is, that I think it's a completely different kind of a topic as if like a kind of a 2.0 version of this discussion today. But we also need to look into all these kind of aspects of research and phenomenon that theoretically leads to increased amount of happiness and boost of happiness per se.
Initially, the notion you're leading to is addiction too. Dopamine, is addictive, really, when you look at, the next fix, I need to get onto my next trip. It is all of that. It's interesting to hear that because not too long ago I was interviewed by Euronews Travel in Doha, and the journalist wanted to know talk about dead zoning, the term of Gen Z, and analog travel. Right, which is, again, dead zoning is getting away from detoxing from digital, which is also a dopamine fix, an addiction there. So now there is that realization where if you travel, you can detox. In Amsterdam, they have whole groups and places, and in Singapore and China, where young people actually connect with each other online to meet in person, to detox from the online life that they have. So travel offers, another kind of detox. Dopamine fix, but if you are relaxing, for instance, like in Amsterdam, where people get together and promoting human connection, that is what travel really is about, then it's a kind of different view on that. Is it a dopamine fix? I don't know. Have you done some research into this? Or is it just recreation, slowing down, getting in touch with yourself without the distraction of, AI in particular? And cultural difference of a place. I was asked by Canada University College to come up with an immersive experiential program for masters. International students going into Nepal as a lab, as a context to learn about human skills in the era of AI. So just another thought about travel's potential. Lots of things. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may interpret, maybe the audience can unmute themselves, and if they have a question, they can ask it live instead of just writing. So if anybody want to ask questions, please just unmute yourself and ask questions, because probably in the coming few minutes we may end the session.
So a complete free-for-all.
Yeah.
Here, I see an interesting question up here. How basically can happiness, better experiences for travel, be enhanced mostly in African societies that are still conservative to their norms and traditions? Anyone have any answers on that?
Well, why is this a contradiction? I don't see why this would be an issue. Just because someone living according to a set of cultural, social, paradigm, I wouldn't want to put conservative or not on it because there's already a value judgment in a way. This is just a way of life, and any kind of life, you can have happiness. I'm not even confused by the question, to be quite honest.
And also Mr. Becca Dekali from UN Tourism, a good friend. I see that you have questions. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. May I? Yeah, okay.
Sure,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Actually, this is a fantastic session. Fantastic, I have just, you can read my assessment. I don't have questions, but I'm very much satisfied with the outcome. This is an important knowledge. This is it, and just what I highlighted that we don't share today only knowledge, but this is creation of new knowledge. It's very important, and so you can. I have provided very tailored feedback, so you can read my comment. And thank you so much, Reza, because you personally, being director of Institute of Tourists, what you did, you have transformed this into a great collaborative platform, and this is very important. Great moderation, and thank you so much, Bea, for this great moderation. It's not only moderation, but you contributed important knowledge to this and all the speakers. So Dr. Pusko's point as well impressed me a lot, and so it leads me to it that there is a untapped potential and between suppliers, service providers, and psychologists, because so many personalized experiences and personalized offers can be done, and so many things what the private sector doesn't know and how to. So the synergy between psychologists and the service providers, how important it is, and perhaps we need to rethink, of course, how products are created, and also. So this is very important. But thank you so much to all of you. This is a great knowledge. And I'm very impressed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you, United Nations Tourism, that's doing a great job with you and all the other colleagues. Thank you so much. I see also our colleagues from United Nations Women as well here. Thank you so much. Thank you. Miskin, there are some other questions you want to read, or anybody from the audience have a question? Hello, Mr. Zach from Canada, Toronto, if I'm not wrong. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning, and greetings from Toronto. Yes, first of all, thank you very much, Reza, for inviting me. And thank you for all those participants who have been sharing a lot of information. My point is, again, is how to feel happy while traveling. So if I'm a traveler, and I've been traveling for the sake of discussion, I'm going to Nepal or Bhutan, or I'm going to Mexico and other places, what am I doing? What will be the joy that I can contribute towards the community, the local community? And my contribution will be in many ways, if possible, is how I can help, how I can contribute for the climate change impact that is taking place. I am quite, I would love to hear more from Mr. Becca Dekali from the United Nations and others as well to understand if the water stress and water footprint is not been taken care of, or if the climate change engagement which is happening, that will have a direct impact on tourism, like what's happening in Dubai, for example. So my point will be is that I would like to say how I can add my own contribution for the climate change impact, how I can help to reduce or to address the climate or carbon footprint in any shape or form. That will be my legacy. That will be my contribution. Leave aside the other things that I may have for my personal reasons or personal. I've been hearing a lot of things about people having a personal feelings. My particular engagement will be how I can add value to the whole community at large. Thank you very much.
May I? This one. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Abdi. Very practical question for your practical question. So, what we do as the United Nations Specialized Agency, so we currently have 161 member states, 6 associate members, territories, and over 500 affiliate members. And affiliate members are leading private sector stakeholders, so associations, companies, universities, etc., etc. So basically, being a multilateral institution, there are 2 important, let's say, mandates what we have. One is delivering services and providing recommendations, and sustainability and resilience is one of the core missions of the organization. So providing recommendations to our member states and globally, but at the same time, it is equally important advocacy and outreach. Advocacy. So next year, and advocated at the global level. Next year is the International Year of Sustainable Tourism, and this is proclaimed by the UN General Assembly. We can have a separate discussion in terms of your contribution, and of course, I will. And it would be a real pleasure to connect you with my colleagues who are in charge of sustainability, and particularly Dr. Dirk Lesser, who is the Director of Sustainable Tourism and Resilience Department. And of course, I mean, we are more than open to listen to you and any thoughts, any proposals, and so yeah, feel free, and I can share my email and cell phone at the same time, just in so that
I can share it with him.
Okay.
He's a good friend of mine, and I will share it.
Good.
No worries.
Good.
In fact, you can say actually what you are doing, because I know you are so much in the sustainable things, which is quite important. In fact, it's so hot here. So
one thing is, of course, I mean, the core activities of the World Tourism Organization and our program of work and all the deliveries. Just to emphasize at the same time, Jeffrey Lippman's initiative on climate-friendly travel, as you know, and so it would be good, of course, to bring Jeffrey in this, let's say, discussion, whether we can speak later on how to do that and to connect it.
Okay, Zach, do you want to say what you are doing exactly? Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, it is. Just one little thing. Talking about happiness and travel shaming and flight shaming, then that works completely opposite. So I would need to be ashamed by my choices, as in traveling to somewhere, although I am contributing to the local economy with my spending, and they are dependent on this activity, so I'm actually doing something good for them. So we very easily going on a rabbit hole of giving very easy solutions and shaming people for traveling, and then emotionally blackmailing them, and then take away the happiness of that short trip, which they can do after 50 weeks of hard work, and then finally they can be on a trip, and then they need to be ashamed of it. So, you know, that's a psychological as well as environmental, economic situation, and it's very easy to give simple solutions. That's politicians exactly what they do, just to pick some activity and give a very simple, nonsensical solution, obviously. But that takes us to a very different domain, and then, you know, being responsible, not responsible, conscious, contributing, how you spend your money, how you, from whom you buy services, locally? Are you going to share the accommodation or not? Because if you did, you contribute to the owner. But at the same time, you may be disturbing the locals, dealing with the building, and so on and so on and so on. So all the 20 aspects we need to take into consideration. Whereas nowadays, it's easy to say that, well, no one should travel by airplane because of this and this, but you go to Dubai and the Earth Summit is full of private jets, where people talking about sustainability flying in with their private jets to Dubai. So, you know, my background is environmental impact of tourism, so I can be very emotional when we start to talk about topics like this, because I'm getting annoyed sometimes, not because of you, don't misunderstand me, but just a simplification of the story, which really it isn't.
And Zach Abdi has his hand up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I need to put my hands up. But before I let you go, I forgot. Reza asked me, what do I do for a living, per se? Well, I'm a human capital developer by profession. I used to make people work before. I'm a competency developer. I work for some of the major oil and gas companies in the world, and there I'm working and I'm doing something which is quite opposite for oil and gas industry. I make basically people to rethink in many ways. And what we are doing right now is we recycle food waste. The food waste that we are normally taking it for granted, either coming out from the farm produce, post-farm produce, or food scrap that what we normally see or what we do, how do we recycle them? And the idea behind is to recycle those food waste, that we convert them into 100% pathogen-free water that address the water stress and water footprint challenges that we are facing in many parts of the world. At the same time, the biomass that we make from the food waste, we put them back into the food supply chain in order to create food security. So at the same time, we're also curbing the greenhouse gas, such as methane gas, that is taking place, or that takes place every time we send those food waste go to the landfill, it emits methane gas. So a lot of things which is happening at the moment in Europe and anywhere in the part of the world, many of those are also man-made that we can contribute. So in other words, what I'm trying to make a point is that food waste, as they say, food security is a human rights issue, so they say. But then again, what are we doing in order to address that? How can we contribute? How can we play an important role in contributing towards this whole engagement of the people around the world? And our engagement also helps people to earn carbon credits. So that carbon credit allows people to have the value proposition for all stakeholders. So this is not something that designed only for rich people or A people or B people. It is designed for everybody else. And that's what I wanted to share with you. And I love to hear what Tara was saying and Dr. Susie and everybody else. They all have their own personal story to tell and contribute. I learn a lot. At the same time, I also feel that maybe we can also learn a little bit more about social economics that can be created because of the item that we are trying to move away. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If anybody want to say more questions or any speakers want to add something? Yes, please.
I'm reading the end of something that Tara wrote, which I really love and believe in. My favorite way to support communities is by economically empowering places by paying ethical wages and supporting local businesses. I noticed that Diana McIntyre Pike was in our list of participants. I don't know if she's still around, but she's such a promoter of community tourism. I was recently in Cartagena, and my favorite part was making Thai hats and things with the local people, and the money stays with them. There's no big corporation that's going to take the money from that tour. It goes right to those women in that community, and to me, this is how you really, really not just build the tourism, but you get such a wonderful personal transformative experience. So I just love that line that she wrote there. So and Diana, if you're here, I'm sure you could pipe in on that.
No, I don't see her. Okay.
Actually,
Any
can I
other?
make, sorry, one more point that I'd like to link that in again with Laszlo's point is shaming. We're talking about psychology here and happiness, and what you alluded to in the social contribution. It's proven in psychology that if you give and do something for others, it actually creates happiness in you. So it's, you give happiness, you receive happiness. It's that kind of process. And Zach, I think that's what you also talked about in your particular project. Now, the shaming is an interesting notion because now we're talking not about visitor economy or service economy. Now we're talking about transformation economy. Now, in psychology and psychotherapy, they call it identity economy. And now we should actually possibly look at that term because what are we doing? Are we now saying, shaming people, if you're not looking for transformative travel, I think Laszlo, you hinted at that, what's happening to the other majority of people who want to travel and are not conscious yet, but actually serendipitously experience happiness and joy. And actually that serendipitous kind of experience is actually transformative in little snippets. And slowly, and of course that's where you can lead into more education and make them aware. And the post, and that comes back to Susie's integration, integrating that awareness and not get into a culture shock when they come home, or I don't like this, and off I go again. So the shaming is an interesting point with that. So we should forget the psychology again of travel as to the traveler per se.
Yeah, but also on that point, that there are way more people who would belong to your second group. Who,
yes, exactly.
And it's not a shame. It's just exactly what they do. There's nothing wrong about it.
That's right.
Plus, when it's all about transformation, when there is a retreat and personal transformation and a certain grieving and all of that, when people come back from trips like that, the recommendation is that don't make life-changing decisions for at least 2 months. Don't. Because you're high, you are full of dopamine, you quit your job, you leave your wife, you leave your family, sell your house, you go vegan, you get your car on the market, you do everything. And 2 weeks later, the first bills arrive, recognize that you don't have anyone left. Third, you don't have anything in the fridge, and the everyday life knocks on your door. So you can have this transformation, but you need to control that transformation, because then, should it not be controlled, then you lose even, you end up having less than how you started.
Yes, thank you for making that point so clear. Thank you very much, Laszlo.
Yeah. If I may add, there is a question also from colleagues from United Nations Women, and they ask if there is a differences between the women and men traveling, and they want to be happy. I mean, the advices that you can give. Maybe Susie, you can, Dr. Susie Ross, maybe you can answer that question.
Sure, I'd love to. I saw that in the chat, and I think that it's difficult, right, when you're talking about gender differences, because because we are so fluid, really, in our own gender. At the same time, we can look at 4 things when we're looking at gender. In my perspective, is number 1 for any human is safety. And so the more that we can help people to feel safe, and that's extremely tall order, that's difficult to do, that is going to also help us to be able to have happiness, have peace, have joy, all these wonderful things, ability to give back and contribute. So safety is probably number 1. And so gender can also shape what's possible, what's desirable, and what's restorative. So gender might differ from what's possible because of the gender differences in so many places around the world, and what's possible for different genders. That's going to affect what is even possible for them, what's desirable for them, or what's restorative for them. So those are the 3 areas, I would say: possibility, desirability, and restorative. And then I also want to, if I will, just show this diagram here. When we're talking about integration and transformation, this is probably the this is the purpose of my life, is this figure 8. And the research that came out of my doctoral research shows that the transformation happens in the movement of a figure 8. And the upper part of the 8 is the life-changing experience. It's the life-changing transformative travel right here up at the 3rd phase at the apex. And when you get home, is right here in the middle of the 8. And then all of my research the last 20 years was, what the heck happens when you get home? Exactly what was mentioned by Lazio. I hope I just said your name okay. Okay. And then getting home there, we go to this lower half of the figure 8, and this is very personal, very private, and very challenging part of the return home, where we go through sadness, disorientation, and even a time of darkness. And then eventually a time of healing. And this is almost all of this is a natural process happening in an unconscious manner. But the more that we become conscious, the more we can be aware that this is happening to us, this is happening inside of us. And then that's why I wrote a book about my research, because I studied about 15 different disciplines, and no one really knew how to integrate. Up here is the positive, the brightness, when we get all the way back here to the end, in the place where we started, right here in the middle of the figure 8, that is when we integrate the life-changing experience. So thank you for indulging me in sharing about the figure 8.
It's easy. On that 8 thing, if I may, where is confirmation? Because, in transformation, yes, integration, yes, where is confirmation that I'm a, say, holistic person, I'm going on a silent meditation retreat. I don't look for transformation because I'm transformed, if you will, but I look for confirmation during that trip. That's what I have, what I believe in, what I practice, what I live is valid. And I receive the confirmation of it, not transformation, confirmation.
In my research over the last, many years, like I said, what my response would be is that the individual who's seeking confirmation is integrating. Because when we integrate, what are we integrating? A lot of us think, I'm integrating the life-changing experience. I'm integrating what happened to me here, this life-changing experience, and now we're integrating that. We're digesting it into our body, mind, spirit. However, what we're actually integrating is our identity, a new identity, because when we have a life-changing experience, we're actually causing the triggering of a reorganization of our entire being to become a greater version of yourself. What's that? An identity death and an identity reorganization, an identity birth. And so that happens here. So when we're seeking that confirmation, we're down here trying to confirm, probably right here in surrender healing, what we've come to know about the new self. The new self is then seeking confirmation, and that's right down here. And then as we solidify the new self in the birth, then we seek experiences of what we've come to know. So the confirmation is right here in that surrender healing. It still is along here too in disorientation, where we're seeking without getting into the details of that. I hope that's helpful.
Thank you. We should talk about that. Not now, but we should talk about that.
I would love to talk with you very much.
I'd like to join into that one.
And Becca, do you want to add something before you go, Mr. Jekyll? Becca Jekyll, do you want to add something?
No, thank you so much. I'm carefully listening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions, comments before we go? No. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Please put your hands together for yourself, for all our wonderful speakers, and especially for our great moderator who had to wake up 5 a.m. from Vancouver. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And be happy and enjoy your summer and enjoy the life and take it easy, even if it's very hot around the world now, but we will survive.
Be happy.
Yeah, that's important.
Thanks,
Don't
everyone.
worry.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you very much. Thank you, Reza.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
From tomorrow,
Thank you,
the
Reza.
recording will be available on our website, institutetourism.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reza.
Thank you, everybody. It was great to be together. Keep learning every day, don't we? Wonderful. Thank you. Awesome.
Yeah. Appreciate it.